My name is Linda, and I live in Seattle, Washington. I'm 20 years old and currently working my first full-time job at a marketing agency. For most of my life, it's just been me and my dad, William. My mom passed away when I was little, and my dad worked so hard to give me a good life, sacrificing so much to make sure I had everything I needed. About a year ago, my dad remarried. Her name is Sophia, and at first, I was happy for them. She seemed kind and welcoming, and she always treated me like her own daughter. I'll admit, I was a little hesitant at first. Bringing someone new into our lives felt strange. But she made me feel comfortable, and I genuinely thought she cared about me. Things started to change, though, once I got my job. Sophia's attitude shifted in ways I didn't understand at first. She became more demanding, expecting me to handle housework as soon as I came home from the office. I'd be exhausted, but she didn't seem to care. It was little things at first. Can you wash the dishes before bed? Or make sure you vacuum the living room after work. But soon it became a daily routine. I barely have time to breathe before she was giving me a list of chores. It hurt because I didn't expect this from her. Before, she would tell me to focus on school or encourage me to rest. Now it was as if my job made me a target. I didn't know what I had done wrong, but I told myself to stay quiet. I didn't want to upset my dad. He looked so happy with her, and I didn't want to ruin that. But deep down, I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right, and soon I would find out just how wrong I was. One evening, I had just gotten home from work, drained from a long day. As usual, I was halfway through washing the dishes when Sophia called me from her room. Her tone was sharp, almost urgent, and it caught me off guard. I quickly dried my hands and headed to her room, wondering what could be so important. When I entered, she was sitting on the edge of her bed, her arms crossed tightly over her chest. "Linda," she started, avoiding eye contact. "I need a favor." I didn't know what to expect. "Sure, Mom. What do you need?" Her eyes finally met mine, and they were harder than I'd ever seen them. "I need $2,500. At first, I thought I had misheard her. I laughed nervously, hoping she was joking. "Why would you need that kind of money from me? Dad gives you everything, a car, money, whatever you need. What's this for?" Her expression didn't change. "It's none of your concern, Linda. I just need the money. You're working now. You can help out your family." I felt my stomach tighten. This didn't make sense. "But you have your own money, don't you? Why do you need mine? And for what?" Her face darkened and her voice rose. "I told you, it's not your place to ask questions. Just give me the money." I shook my head, my voice trembling. "No, Mom, this isn't right. If you really need it, you should tell Dad. He's always been there for you." Her hand shot out so quickly that I barely had time to react. The slap stung across my cheek, and for a moment I was too shocked to say anything. The woman who had once treated me like her own daughter had just hit me over money. "You listen to me," she hissed, her voice low and threatening. "You're not going to say a word to your father about this. You hear me? Not a word." Tears welled up in my eyes, but I didn't let them fall. I couldn't believe what had just happened. This wasn't the Sophia I thought I knew. I stared at her, my cheek burning, and managed to whisper, "I don't know who you are anymore." I turned and walked out of her room, my mind racing. My hands were shaking as I pressed them against my face, trying to calm down. How could she do this? How could she hit me and then demand my silence? That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the scene in my mind, questioning everything about her. The slap wasn't just an act of anger, it was a betrayal. For the first time, I felt genuinely afraid of her, and I knew this wasn't something I could ignore. Something was terribly wrong, and I had to figure out what it was. The next day, I went to work, but I couldn't focus on anything. My cheeks still felt warm where she had slapped me the night before, and the memory kept playing in my mind like a bad movie I couldn't escape. The tension, the anger in her voice, and the shock I felt when her hand connected with my face. It all lingered, making me feel uneasy and distracted. By the time I got home that afternoon, I decided to come home early, needing some peace and quiet to sort out my thoughts. But as soon as I stepped into the house, I realized something was off. The living room lights were on, and I could hear voices, laughter actually, a man's voice mixed with Sophia's. Curious, I walked quietly toward the sound. The closer I got, the clearer their conversation became. I froze just before stepping into the living room. hiding behind the edge of the hallway wall. "I can't believe you actually slapped her," the man said, laughing softly. Sophia giggled, her voice playful and light, so different from the harsh tone she used with me. While she was getting nosy, she threatened to tell William about me asking her for money, so I had to shut her up somehow. "Don't worry about it. She's too scared to do anything about it." My heart dropped. My hands started trembling, and I felt a sick knot form in my stomach. Who was this man? And why was Sophia so comfortable laughing about slapping me? "And William?" the man asked, his tone casual but probing. "What about him? He hasn't caught on yet?" Sophia sighed. "No, of course not. He's too busy working all the time. He just hands me money whenever I ask. I told you, we don't need to worry about him. It's Linda who's becoming a problem." I peeked around the corner and saw them sitting on the couch together. He was young, maybe in his late 20s, and he had his arm draped casually over the back of the couch, close to Sophia. They looked far too comfortable together, like a couple who had been doing this for a long time. Sophia leaned in closer to him and whispered, "She'll keep her mouth shut. She doesn't have the guts to stand up to me." At that moment, something inside me snapped. I wasn't scared anymore. I was furious. How dare she talk about me like this, like I was some obstacle in her life? And how dare she disrespect my dad like that? He had given her everything, his trust, his love, and his hard-earned money. And here she was, laughing with another man about her lies and betrayal. I stepped into the living room, my heart pounding but my voice steady. "I guess I do have the guts after all." Sophia's face turned pale the moment she saw me standing there. The man quickly moved his arm away from her, sitting up straighter like a kid caught stealing cookies. "Linda," Sophia stammered, her voice shaky. I crossed my arms, glaring at her. "I heard everything. All of it. And I'm not going to keep my mouth shut. I'm telling Dad." Sophia jumped to her feet, tears springing to her eyes instantly. "Please, Linda, no. Don't tell him. I made a mistake. I wasn't thinking. Please, I'm begging you. Don't ruin this for me." I shook my head, my anger boiling over. "You slapped me, you lied to me, and you're lying to him. Do you even care about him? About us? Or is all of this just some game to you?" She started sobbing, falling to her knees like a scene from some cheap drama show. "I'm so sorry, Linda. Please forgive me. I'll do anything, just don't tell your dad." But I wasn't buying it. Her tears meant nothing to me now. I looked at her one last time, her desperate face pleading with me, and I turned away. I had made up my mind. My dad deserved to know the truth, and I wasn't going to let her manipulate me anymore. That evening, I sat at the dinner table, my heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. My dad, William, had just come home from work, looking tired but cheerful, like he always did. Sophia sat across from me, her eyes darting nervously toward mine every few seconds, silently begging me to keep quiet. She hadn't said a word to me since the confrontation earlier, but the tension in the air was suffocating. I couldn't hold it in any longer. My dad deserved the truth, and I was done protecting her. "Dad," I started, my voice shaky but firm. "There's something I need to tell you." He looked up from his plate, his brow furrowing. "What is it, sweetheart?" Sophia immediately jumped in, her voice frantic. "Linda, don't. Whatever it is, we can talk about it later." I ignored her and kept my eyes on my dad. "It's about Sophia. I came home early today and found her with another man in the living room." Dad froze, his fork halfway to his mouth. "What are you talking about?" I took a deep breath, trying to steady my voice. "I heard them talking, Dad. She's been seeing him behind your back. And it's not just that. She's been giving him your money. She even admitted to slapping me last night because I refused to give her $2,500. The room fell silent except for the sound of Sophia's chair scraping against the floor as she stood up. "William, she's lying. She's making this up because she's angry with me. You know how kids can be." But I wasn't going to back down. "Dad, I swear I'm telling the truth. If you don't believe me, check her phone." For a moment, he just sat there, staring at Sophia. Then, without a word, he stood up and held out his hand. "Give me your phone." Sophia's face turned pale, and she clutched her phone tightly. "William, please, you don't need to do this. She's lying. I love you. You know that." "Your phone." "Now," he said, his voice cold and steady. Reluctantly, she handed it over, her hands trembling. He unlocked it and began scrolling through her messages. I watched as his expression changed: confusion, anger, and then heartbreak. When he finally looked up, his voice was shaking with fury. How could you do this to me, Sophia? After everything I've done for you, everything I've given you. Sophia burst into tears, falling to her knees. William, I'm so sorry. I made a mistake. It didn't mean anything. Please, we can fix this. But my dad wasn't having it. He threw her phone onto the table, his face red with anger. Fix this. You've been lying to me for over a year. You've betrayed me, stolen from me, and hurt my daughter. Get out. I don't want to see your face ever again. William, please, she sobbed, reaching for him, but he stepped back. Go, he said firmly. Sophie looked at me one last time, her eyes full of desperation, but I didn't feel sorry for her, not anymore. She had made her choices, and now she was facing the consequences. She left that night, taking only a small bag of her things. The house was quiet after she was gone, and my dad and I sat at the kitchen table in silence for a long time. Finally, he looked at me, his eyes full of pain but also gratitude. Thank you for telling me, Linda. I'm sorry you had to go through all of this. I should have seen the signs. I shook my head, tears brimming in my eyes. It's not your fault, Dad. We're going to be okay. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I believed it. After Sophia left, the house felt different, quieter, calmer, almost like we could finally breathe again. My dad and I spent the next few days trying to process everything that had happened. It wasn't easy. I could see the hurt in his eyes, the weight of betrayal hanging over him. But I also saw his determination to move forward. And that gave me strength too. For the first time in months, I felt free. I didn't have to come home to Sophia's sharp comments or her endless demands. I didn't have to tiptoe around her moods or worry about her taking advantage of my dad. The house felt like home again, a place where I could truly relax and be myself. As the weeks passed, my dad and I grew closer. We started spending more time together, cooking dinners, watching old movies, and even going on weekend hikes like we used to when I was younger. It felt good to have that bond back, and I could tell he was slowly healing too. I also started focusing more on myself. I realized how much energy I had wasted trying to keep the peace with Sophia, and I promised myself I would never let anyone drain me like that again. I poured myself into my work, taking on new projects and impressing my boss. Outside of work, I reconnected with old friends and even picked up a new hobby, painting. It was something I hadn't done in years, but it brought me so much joy to lose myself in colors and creativity. One evening, as I sat in my room painting, I thought back to everything that had happened. The slap, the confrontation, the truth coming out, it had all been so overwhelming. But I didn't feel anger or sadness anymore. I felt proud. Proud that I had stood up for myself, for my dad, and for what was right. I realized that life is too short to let toxic people control your happiness. I didn't need Sophia's approval or validation. I didn't need to carry the weight of her lies. What I needed, and what I finally had, was peace. My dad once told me, sometimes the hardest decisions are the ones that set you free. He was right. Telling him the truth about Sophia was one of the hardest things I've ever done, but it was also the best. Now, I'm living a life that feels entirely mine. I'm surrounded by people who support me, and I'm doing things that make me happy. And as for Sophia, she's just a chapter in my story, one I've closed for good. Looking back, I don't regret any of it. I'm stronger now, wiser, and more confident in myself. And for the first time in a long time, I feel hopeful about the future.